Porn addiction is a topic shrouded in taboos and prejudice, but from Carl Jung's perspective, it can be understood as a reflection of deeper issues within the human psyche. For Jung, compulsive behaviors, such as excessive consumption of pornography, are not merely dysfunctional habits. They are symbolic expressions of unmet emotional needs or unresolved internal conflicts buried in the unconscious. At its core, pornography appeals to primal instincts and the archetype of Eros, the vital energy governing desire, creativity, and emotional connection. When consumed compulsively, it may signal an imbalance in this energy. What's being sought through pornography is not just physical pleasure, but a deeper yearning, intimacy, acceptance, or even an escape from unresolved emotional pain. Jung believed that whatever we repress, our fears, insecurities, and deepest desires, eventually returns in distorted forms. In the case of porn addiction, excessive consumption can be seen as an attempt to cope with repressed emotions, a cry from the unconscious seeking to be heard. This raises central questions. What does this behavior reveal about our psyche? What is being ignored or suppressed? And, more importantly, how can the cycle be transformed into a path toward self-awareness? For Jung, compulsive behaviors like porn addiction are more than acquired habits or reactions to external stimuli. They are symbolic manifestations of deep-seated imbalances in the psyche, a signal that something within the unconscious demands attention. Addiction, in this sense, can be understood as an unconscious attempt to fill an emotional or spiritual void. Jung often suggested that we seek external compensations to address unmet internal needs. In the case of pornography, this compulsion might be linked to the archetype of Eros, representing desire, emotional connection, and creative energy. When this energy isn't integrated healthily, it can manifest in destructive or compulsive behaviors. Pornography, by instantly stimulating desire without requiring emotional connection, symbolizes a shallow engagement with the archetype of Eros. This consumption can act as a symbolic substitute for genuine intimacy, whether with others or oneself. Instead of exploring the emotional and spiritual longings that drive desire, individuals often turn to a quick fix that paradoxically deepens the emptiness. Jung would also relate these compulsive cycles to the repression of the shadow, those aspects of ourselves we deem undesirable or incompatible with the persona, the social mask we present to the world. When someone represses their desires, fears, or vulnerabilities, these shadow aspects don't vanish. They seek expression indirectly, often through compulsive behaviors. Porn addiction, then, can be interpreted as a way of avoiding confrontation with the shadow. The repetitive act of consuming pornography enables the individual to sidestep difficult feelings such as loneliness, shame, or low self-esteem. However, the cycle of instant gratification prevents the underlying issue from being addressed. Moreover, Jung might point to spiritual disconnection as a root cause. He believed the human psyche requires a greater sense of purpose to achieve balance. Addiction can emerge when this sense of meaning is absent, driving individuals to seek fulfillment in something that can never truly satisfy them. Marcos, 35, with a stable career but superficial relationships, seeks solace in pornography at night, a habit that has evolved from occasional distraction to compulsion. Despite knowing it leaves him drained and disconnected, he feels unable to stop. From a Jungian perspective, Marcos is grappling with an emotional or spiritual void that he attempts to fill superficially. Deep down, he craves genuine connection, not just physical, but emotional and authentic. Yet, his fear of rejection or inability to embrace vulnerability leads him to use pornography as a substitute. This behavior reflects a clash between his persona, the mask he shows the world, and his shadow, where repressed fears, insecurities, and desires reside. Jung teaches that ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It manifests in automatic, compulsive behaviors. For Marcos, pornography acts as both an escape and a symbolic way to avoid confronting difficult emotions like loneliness or dissatisfaction with himself. By avoiding these feelings, he perpetuates the cycle of repression and compulsion. Maria's story, Maria, a young student, also consumes pornography regularly. In her case, the addiction symbolizes a disconnect from her own sexuality. Growing up in a repressive environment, Maria never felt comfortable exploring or understanding her desires. Pornography becomes a channel for her to experience these desires, but in a distorted way, devoid of emotional engagement or reflection. This reflects an imbalance in the Eros archetype, where desire isn't integrated creatively and consciously, but is instead fragmented and mechanical. A symbolic symptom. Both Marcos and Maria's stories show how porn addiction can be seen as a symbolic symptom pointing to deeper issues, a longing for connection, intimacy, or a healthier relationship with their own sexuality. Breaking the cycle. How can they escape this loop? First, it's crucial to recognize the behavior as a signal, not a personal flaw. Jung emphasizes the courage to face the shadow. Through therapy, introspection, or self-reflective practices, Marcos and Maria can begin to explore what lies beneath their compulsions. For Marcos, it might be a fear of intimacy. For Maria, internalized shame around desire. The key is to bring repressed aspects to light, integrating them into a more conscious and balanced self. Individuation as healing. Jung saw compulsive behaviors like porn addiction as an invitation to individuation, the process of becoming our true selves by integrating the conscious and unconscious. Approaching this behavior not as a moral failing, but as a symbolic symptom allows us to uncover what the unconscious is trying to communicate. In the context of porn addiction, the Aeros archetype plays a central role. Aeros is not just sexual desire, but the drive for connection, creativity, and love. When this energy is distorted or repressed, it manifests in fragmented ways. Compulsive consumption of pornography, which separates pleasure from affection and intimacy, reflects a disconnection from the full expression of Aeros. Jung taught that healing begins by bringing the unconscious into consciousness. This means exploring what the behavior symbolically represents. For example, emotional escape. Compulsive consumption may be an attempt to avoid difficult feelings like loneliness, rejection, or emptiness. Jung would argue that these feelings must be confronted and integrated rather than suppressed. Ultimately, the path to healing lies in understanding and integrating the shadow, transforming compulsions into opportunities for deeper self-awareness and growth. The desire for connection. Pornography can symbolize a yearning for intimacy and acceptance, which may feel difficult to achieve in real life due to emotional fears or barriers. Disconnection from the body and self. Addiction may also signal a fragmented relationship with one's own sexuality, where the body is seen only as a source of physical pleasure rather than an integral part of a complete self. Integrating Aeros requires courage to explore these areas. For Jung, this would involve shadow work confronting the fears, desires, and insecurities relegated to the unconscious. The key is to understand that these aspects are not bad or shameful. They are parts of who we are, and when integrated, can become sources of strength and creativity. Reconnection with purpose. Healing also requires a deeper sense of purpose. Jung believed the human psyche seeks meaning. Without a larger purpose, the ego often defaults to instant gratification, as seen in addiction. The path to healing, therefore, is not just about abandoning compulsive behavior, but finding ways to meet emotional and spiritual needs more fully. Practical steps. Reflective writing, journaling can help uncover unconscious patterns and feelings. Dream work. Pay attention to dreams, as they often provide symbolic insights into what the unconscious is communicating. Therapy. A safe space to explore and integrate these hidden aspects. The goal is to replace the compulsive cycle with a more authentic relationship with Eros, one that encompasses emotional intimacy, creativity, and genuine connection with oneself and others. A symbolic invitation. When viewed through Jung's lens, porn addiction ceases to be merely a problem to solve. Instead, it becomes an opportunity for self-discovery. It is a symbolic invitation to explore our relationship with our emotions, desires, and connection to the world. Jung reminds us that compulsive behaviors don't arise randomly. They are unconscious attempts to resolve inner conflicts. In the case of porn addiction, these conflicts often involve a disconnection from Eros, the vital energy uniting the physical and emotional, desire and love. This behavior signals an imbalance within, a part of the psyche calling out for attention. A compassionate approach. The solution doesn't lie in repressing desire or demonizing the behavior, but in understanding what it symbolizes. Porn addiction reflects unmet emotional needs, repressed fears, or a disconnection from the self. Healing begins with facing these issues with courage and compassion. Applying this perspective. 1. Acceptance and self-reflection. Instead of blaming yourself, ask, what is this habit trying to tell me? Use reflective writing or dream work to explore suppressed feelings or unmet needs. 2. Engage with the shadow. Jung teaches that growth happens when we confront repressed aspects of ourselves. Acknowledge your fears, insecurities, and desires without judgment. Shadow integration allows these parts of you to find healthy expression. 3. Reconnect with Eros. Replace superficial gratification with deeper connections with yourself, with others, and through creative pursuits that nurture your soul. Remember, Eros is more than sexual desire. It is the energy that connects, creates, and transforms. For find purpose asterisk, Jung believed the psyche seeks meaning. Ask yourself, what gives my life meaning? Engaging with a purpose beyond the ego helps channel energy in healthier and more fulfilling ways. The journey of healing. Remember, healing is a process. Just as individuation is a lifelong journey, overcoming compulsive behaviors and integrating parts of our psyche takes time, patience, and dedication. Porn addiction is not an endpoint. It is a call to explore the depths of your psyche, understand your deeper needs, and transform your relationship with desire. As Jung and the archetype of Aeros remind us, true strength lies in the courage to face the darkness and discover the light. The path awaits. Take the first step with compassion, curiosity, and the certainty that each small victory brings you closer to your most authentic self.